Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you all and welcome back for week 11, the quarterfinals of Strictly Costumes Unpicked.
Oh,
Whew.
has it really been 11 weeks?
Isn't it? No one you this week. It's me and you, Ting, together to rattle through the quarterfinal. Yes, it really has been that long.
We just like to keep it, mixed up with who's going to turn up each week.
Yeah, it's getting like that, isn't it? We haven't had a theme week for a long while, but we have been waiting for it. It's musicals. I was getting ready to have a great night, and then the group dance started, and I didn't know hardly any of them. so so I threw my slippers at the screen. There are no pictures of the group dances because I'm like, I didn't like any of those
Oh,
musicals.
I knew all of them. I was waiting to discuss these, but no.
No, no, I didn't know what happened at the beginning there. Was that Matilda at the beginning, or was that something about Jamie or something? I don't know. Which one? Tell
Well,
me
there's
which
something
ones.
about Jamie was in there, yeah.
Oh, and then six, which I've heard of, not seen.
Oh, I love Six.
You've seen it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a rock musical, so it is actually only like a 90-minute show with no interval.
Oh.
And it's sung like a concert. So, yeah, it was the first
Okay.
one I've seen like that, and it was brilliant.
And then we had Hamilton, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I've never seen that. Don't
No.
even want to.
No, it's same here. So I'd already thrown my slippers by that point anyway. So I, all right, right. No
We
pictures
did
for the
finally
show.
get some kinky boots right at the end.
I. How
I've
did
been
I
wanting
not
to
even see that?
I've been wanting to see that on Strictly for years, and they've not done it, and so it was great to see it.
Which song was it?
Well, the very last one, because they came on wearing the red kinky boots. So I
Oh,
thought you would have at least got that one.
no, I clearly was in a strop. Clearly zoned out. But so if you guessed those musicals, great. If you're like me and you wanted Sunset Boulevard or Tell Me on
You
a
were struggling.
Sunday or
You were struggling
Phantom.
with the main ones, weren't you? Because you didn't
No.
even know who Vito and Fleur were.
No, 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 I thought it was Dick Van Dyke come Oliver that Vito looked like. Anyway, if you've not joined us, welcome to Strictly Costumes Unpicked. It's the show where we go into detail of the costumes only. We have a quick chat about who left at the beginning of each episode, but we steer clear of the dance and all the analytics.
Can I just
Mostly.
say we don't? We inevitably end up talking about the dance.
And we look at the costumes, perhaps the fabrics, try and guess what they were made of. We then look at the color schemes. How well did they work together? Did they combine? Did they echo? And then we look at the Vicky Gill section, from It Takes Two, where she appears and she explains some of the sketches. We get to see like the concept of creation. So it all happens here within 40 minutes. And it was a fun show. Lots of costumes to talk about, lots of costumes that maybe raised an eyebrow, and lots that gave us a giggle. But we will go straight into it with a quick chat about the eviction. First of all, this is who we had going out of Strictly last week, dancing for their space in this week's show. We have Ellie and Johannes with their jive, and Fleur and Vito with their rumba. Did you think they were the right couples to see in the dance-off, or had the audience done another funny thing?
Uh, as much as I love Ellie, and I mentioned before that I was quite disappointed she's not turned out to be the dancer I hoped she would be. Ellie was right to be there. Fleur, I wouldn't have said so. No, I was surprised that she was down there because the rumba is a hard dance, but
Mm.
I thought they both managed it very well. So yeah, I was surprised that she was down there. But as soon as Ellie got in the bottom, it was like you can't not send her
Yeah.
home because of all of them at this stage now, with only a couple of weeks to go to the final, she's not at the same standard or not was at the same standard as the rest of those. So the right person went home, but I'm not quite sure about Fleur being in there. Sometimes I'm not sure what the audience does at times.
Oh, we've had this conversation, haven't we? That what do they do? Voting for their favourites, or they just don't connect with. And it is about the celebrity, isn't it? And there must be audience members. I know there are some celebrities you just don't connect with, so therefore you just don't vote.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, looking at these two though, I mean, I didn't really know who either of them were. I've seen Ellie in a couple of things, and she did the pottery, didn't she? When the other one had broken a leg. But neither of them are exactly well known. It's not like you think, oh, that one's more well known than the other, or something like
Mm,
that. So yeah, I don't know really. Sometimes it is just fluke on the leaderboard where people are. Like we've said before, when you're sat in the middle, sometimes you're overlooked. People tend to vote for the top and the bottom, and then the people in the middle end up in the dance off. But yeah, I mean that's just how the votes fell that week, I suppose.
yep. The wonder of the show. Well, there we are. We lost Ellie, so we are now at week 11, the quarter final. And as we said, it's, yes, musicals. And then we saw lovely Tess and Claudia. And what stunning outfits. I have to say, I thought Tess looked stunning. I loved it, even though I kept thinking she was a banana.
Well, there is a little bit of that, isn't there? I mean, and
Yes.
it looks a little bit too shiny for me. It looks like almost like a rubbery type suit.
I think it was a rubbery. Here we go. Look at a close up. Rubbery sequin.
Well, it's certainly like a leathery, pleathery
Yeah,
affair, isn't it? And
and
like Claudia, I'm sorry, but she does look like she's in a pair of pajamas. I know it's a suit, but it looks
yes.
like a pajama top and bottom. It looks like something from Marks and Spencers.
Um, this is often that style that I've seen since watching it. Claudia is often. Sometimes we've commented it looks like a
Yeah,
pajama.
yeah.
Just that style, isn't it? Um, it's also got that look about it. You know the it's not cheap, but sometimes you get that cheap Christmas wrapping paper, that metallic look. But
Yeah.
I just loved how it caught the light, though. Both of them
Oh, no,
there,
I mean, yeah,
very
from a dramatic point of view,
yeah,
yes. But when you take a step back and look at it, it was kind of like, oh, like the rest of us who were caught out with it being on a Friday, has she, you know,
yes.
put her gym jams on when she got home from work and forgot to get changed?
And then we had the judges, which we were giggling right from the beginning. Come on, audience, tell us what you thought of Shirley. Was it? What did you say it was?
A dust sheet.
Dust sheet, and I said it was like a chamois leather. We were giggling
I
right
mean,
from the start on the WhatsApp. Look at it here. I've got
I,
a.
I mean, I assume to give her the benefit of the doubt that, well, and I'm also assuming she didn't choose it, but we are going for like Hollywood glamour type thing.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
but I don't know if that sits with like kind of. I mean, what's happened to her arm there? It looks like her arm's gone flying off the side.
He's.
It's like she's got some extended arm because it looks like the elbow is right by the edge of the photo there.
No, that's a
What
hand.
you
I think
can't see is
it's
it goes all the way over and smacks Claudia around the head.
but it had a lovely shimmer to it, but it did make
Oh
us
yeah, it was that
chuckle.
kind of satin material,
Yeah,
isn't it? In the same with Motzi's, in the black, it's
yeah.
got that shimmer and drape to it. I think we've
Uh,
seen Craig and Anton's dinner jackets before. I think. I mean, I do feel for the gents; they don't get as much variety of costume.
it is a bit boring for us gents, though, isn't it? We have to wear those black tails. It's black or well, they've had different colours, but sometimes I think, why can't we wear some cool different things?
Well, they do, don't they? I mean, they're not black
Yes.
tailed.
No.
They've got a bit of interest to them,
Yeah,
but at
but
the same time, you don't want to be distracted by them, do you? Like we're all talking here about Shirley, whereas if she
yes.
just wore the same little black number every week,
Yeah.
that would be fine.
And it takes the hassle out of thinking, doesn't it? If we were
Yeah,
able to wear all the different styles that the ladies wear, I just think it would be fun. Anyway, there we go. Let's move on. So our first dance to look at for the show is Kim and Graziano with the cha-cha, and the
yeah.
musical was Ting.
It was Fame.
Indeed. So wonderful 80s look. I have to say, though, I was too busy looking at Graziano's costume for most of it rather than Kim's dancing because I couldn't get over the hood. I thought it was really odd.
Well, I suppose
It was
it's not that
flapping
odd.
everywhere. Hey?
It's not
Well,
that odd.
I just don't know whether you needed it because you're in this sort of top, the denim sleeveless top, but the hood, because of the dance, it was flapping here, there, and everywhere. So I just kept watching it. It was one of those things where I was transfigured with it, rather than looking at Graziano himself or obviously Kim. But so
Yeah.
I'm a bit unsure of whether that hood was needed or not for the look. But what did you think of both their looks?
Well, it must have just been you because I didn't even notice the hood.
Oh, right, must have just been me then.
It was fine. I mean, I said to you, I think one of the problems that I had with it is it was if you did, I mean, obviously the taxi being there makes it very clear that it's Fame. But I actually turned around and said, well, it could be Flashdance. There was
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of kind of difference within those two looks, and of course, because they did Irene Cara, God rest her soul, and all of
yeah,
that. It was that kind of thing of like, well, it could be either one of these. Oh no, it's Fame. It's Fame.
yeah,
Okay, it's Fame. But yes, I mean, both of those movies were very 80s. They're both dance movies. They're both leg warmer, headband
yeah.
movies, and that's what you've got there. That look is there. Obviously, very sheer. I mean, they weren't leggings. I mean, they were like a baggy pant because it was made out of that very sheer netting, and it just felt. That's what I didn't sit quite right with me. It was like, just put her in a pair of leggings. Don't put her in those,
Yes,
like
the tint.
purple pants, and
Mm.
then have this kind of. It wasn't overly baggy, but it wasn't leggings, and it just didn't quite look right. I didn't think.
Yeah, I don't know why she couldn't have just been in normal. But is that a Fame thing? Were they in tinted um
Well, no, they were just
kind?
in leggings, or they had their legs out.
Yeah,
Uh, either one of those would have been slightly more preferable, I think. Either her with her legs out, or just put her in a pair of leggings. Whereas this, because they had just a slight bag to them,
yeah.
and then it just didn't look quite right with the leg warmers on there.
Well, it's an interesting color scheme, isn't it? The purple, then with the red leg warmers. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that would have just separates out. I mean, I wasn't too bothered about the red leg warmers, but
Okay.
having them right up against the purple, they did kind of clash a bit. Whereas if she'd have just had bare legs with
Yeah.
the leg warmers on, maybe the bit of distance between the leg warmers and the rest of the costume might have worked a bit more. But yeah, that was the only thing about hers that kind of did it for me.
But we had now I've not seen Strictly before when musicals. We had dancers. Is that the usual thing for musical week to have
Well,
like we have at Blackpool?
I kind of looked at it and went, well, I don't know. And we have seen it before on the BBC show as opposed to just in Blackpool. Um, but I suppose over the last few years, with it being different and, with COVID, they perhaps didn't have as many dancers. So maybe I've forgotten. They have used them in the studio before, but I don't know if there's like it's definitely musicals week or definitely
Oh, right.
semi-finals week or
Yeah.
something like that. But part of me was, we're losing the dancer because obviously the BBC studio is a bit smaller
Yeah.
than the ballroom at Blackpool. There's a lot of space in Blackpool, so having those extra dancers kind of works. But here it's a bit tighter, especially when you've got half a car sat there.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I mean, it has that look. It has the look of the 80s, but I just didn't know whether. I'm not too sure about Graziano's outfit, say, with the handkerchief there. He came across to me like I was watching Billy Joel Uptown Girl video.
well, that was 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's right. Yes, but it's just too much going on. Too much going on, I think.
Well, but that was
Get
the
rid of the hood
80s,
and
wasn't
keep the
it?
handkerchief, or get rid of the handkerchief.
Well, you wanted him to get rid of the hood, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I
It's
mean,
just
that to me, I would have had him just in that vest top
yeah,
and a pair of jeans because,
yeah,
in the 80s, that was it, wasn't it? For the men, they would have been in a little tight tank top and a
yeah,
pair of jeans or cut-off jeans or something like that,
yeah,
like a bit like that one there.
yeah.
And, having him in that, he's the professional. So I'd have said, shut up, get your legs out, get your guns out,
Yeah,
end of.
indeed. Yeah. Okay, let's move
You've
on to
got
the
Paul
next.
Kim there with her midriff out and her thighs out and everything. So,
But looking good, as Craig said.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Right, let's move on to the next one there. So we have, as we were just talking about earlier, not Dick Van Dyke or what's his name, Bill Sykes from Oliver.
Bill,
We have Fleur and Vito with the quick step from the musical.
An American in Paris,
Yes.
which I can't believe you haven't seen.
No, I've never seen. Well, no, I've never seen. I've seen because as soon as I've Got Rhythm played, I was like, oh, I didn't know that was from that because I've seen. It completely escapes me now.
Gene Kelly.
No, the big one.
Oh well, that's who it was.
with all the Gershwin music in. Oh, it was at the Prince Edward. Oh, what was that called? It had all the Gershwin music in. It's like every song is a Gershwin number because it was kind of a bit like a Mamma Mia, ABBA.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I forgot the name of it. So I thought it was from that. But so yes, I recognised I've Got Rhythm straight away, but I didn't know it was originally from An American in Paris. So there we are. So we've got Fleur and her flower shop, and two beautiful, simple costumes. Love them.
Which, I mean, we've talked about my love of theme weeks, and again, looking back at the Grazio one and then this one here, they are dressed as if they're in the film. There was part of me's like you've had all the thought taken out of your costume because basically someone's held up a picture and gone, yeah, we'll just make those. Nobody sat down and designed it specifically. It's just kind of, well, it needs to look like it's come out of Fame, or it needs to look like it's come out of An American in Paris. So, that annoys me a little bit because that creativity is not there. I mean, that said, her dress, as we can see in that shot there, the movement was still there. That is still built into it to make sure you can do it. And obviously, him with these high-waisted trousers, that's was the fashion back in the 50s when this musical was, being put together and everything. And as I said, with Gene Kelly. So, but it takes the kind of fun out of the design because we're basically saying, well, yeah, they're the costumes from the musical, you know. And it is a musical, but of course we're actually talking probably about film, and we've had movie week. But most of us would have seen it in film version, with Gene Kelly in rather than the stage version.
So, what was he wearing in the film? Was he he wasn't wearing a jersey long sleeved t-shirt?
Oh, I can't remember. I watched it ages ago. I haven't just had it on.
I'm guessing he would be in a shirt.
I remember. No, he was. No? I remember him having something very similar to that because it isn't a formal thing. It's when he's he's in Paris and he's got like you'd have your holiday clothes. So he's not all done up in a suit and tie and everything like he is in Singing in the Rain. So yes, that is very similar to what you would expect to see in that movie. The thing is, I can't remember who the girl is. I keep saying I know it's Gene Kelly, but I can't remember who the girl is in the film, which is bad, really, because normally you'd say like Fred and Ginger or whatever, and I don't know who it is with Gene Kelly.
Shame on you! You normally know all these things.
You have not even watched it.
I'm sure someone will let us know. Okay, so they're the two out of the six that were just straight up. The rest now appear in the Vicky Gill section. So we will look at the sketches and what she says, and then look at the actual show photos and look at the reality. And we've now looked at 11 weeks, 10 weeks worth of this concept creation where we see her sketches. And I've found that quite fascinating. Ting, have you watched It Takes Two before? How has that section with Vicky Gill developed over the years, or has it stayed quite similar?
It's definitely become much more involved. Initially, it was she would come on. I can't remember if she used to come on a Wednesday or whatever, but it certainly was towards the end of the week, and we'd get a bit of a flash of what was going on. But that was more of a kind of spoiler, this is what it looks like. Whereas now it is much more of a develop. And obviously we know that it's every Wednesday or Thursday or whenever it is. I imagine it was Wednesday this week because they were a bit short on time. Betty will be working overtime.
No, it was still shown on Thursday.
Oh, but Lord.
I know. But she did comment on how little time they had. Betty had to, she had to make up her hours.
Yeah, but going back to my previous comment, then just designing something out of a film would have been a lot
Yeah.
easier than maybe spending 2
Yeah.
days trying to get the design right. They were just, it's a very easy pick, I suppose, if you're basing it on the film or the musical.
It is a fascinating section of It Takes Two. She's on every Thursday. Very rarely
Plus,
has it. Go
Betty has been able to make up some time by nipping out and getting some
on.
Peruma pajamas for
Yes.
Claudia to wear from M&S.
She's got a big team, does Vicky Gill, and she comes in and she does these sketches, and you get an insight of the show. And some of that insight I found quite fascinating, especially with regard to the hierarchy of where costumes fit with regard to lighting design and how often they have to change things according to what's happening on the set. But most of this doesn't happen till the fitting and the rehearsal on Friday, which is fascinating. So let's go into the first one. We have Molly, who was doing the Charleston, and her show was from Chicago, and that was the sketch.
Was it?
there. Yeah.
Oh yes, no, I was
Yes.
thinking Helen, and that wasn't. That was
No, Cabaret, yeah. But
Cabaret,
interesting, though, because that's what was talked about. She said, with Molly, she said it will be silver in the end, but it's a white base. And there is a Cabaret number, so they're not using black in this one, understanding that they're going to be using black for the Cabaret for Helen. There's going to be a foil layer and fringing at the bottom, and lots of layering of fringing. So that's the sketch as we saw, and let's then go into it and see what we had. It was a lovely little number.
Yeah, which, I mean, you've got to remember that Chicago is, prime flapper material. So, 1920s, 30s, Great Depression, all of that in America. But that is the outfit, and that's what we've got. Again, I know it's musicals week, but if you go to the film with, I was going to say Bridget Jones, but it's not Bridget Jones. What's her name? Renee Zellweger.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
If you go there.
No. And that is the kind of dress that she was wearing in the finale number, which is what this was based on.
Ah.
So
I loved it, though. I just thought it was great. That sheer bit in the middle of the top part with the beading, and then that style. We can see that style of the chevrons, the skirt going down there. Beautiful, but as you say, very flapper when she was moving there. Look at that. Lovely. And I thought that worked really well. It had this also that feel of, which is the same period, isn't it? Fat Sam's Grand Slams.
Well, yes. Exactly it. And we've had that as a Charleston dance as well.
Have we? It's yes. Great, isn't it? I'm still trying to think of the musical. What's the musical?
Bugsy Malone.
That's it, yeah. With how the costume that she's wearing echoes with what Carlos is wearing. It's just great, isn't it? Pinstripe.
Yeah. But I know you made the disclaimer at the start that we're not talking about the dancing, but
okay.
So the thing is, though, the dress has got all this movement in it, and because it is a Charleston and it's designed to do all of that, and that's what it's there for. But I felt that Molly is very heavy-footed in her dance, and I thought that all the way back when they were in Blackpool, because I couldn't understand why on a sprung floor she seemed so heavy-footed. And the same with this dance here. I didn't not like it. It wasn't that they were horrendous and I thought, it was awful dance. It was a good choreographed dance. But I think she's very heavy-footed. And the trouble is, with this dress and the way it moves, I think, to me, it kind of emphasised that heavy-footedness.
Well, we texted at the same time, didn't we? And I think I said, "Oh, this feels like she was in slow motion at some points because it was just
and I think
space,
the dress,
gravity heavy."
Yeah, the dress highlights that because it is designed to move. So if you are not light and up on your feet, it kind of reflected in the sluggish movement of the dress as well. And for me, I just felt that her dance wasn't as good. And because of that, and the dress just kind of, yeah, it's a brilliant dress, but I think that accentuated
Yeah,
that.
I think you're right.
And I think, that's what some of the audience, we said it, and I've got a couple of other people, who text as well when it's on, and everyone else is kind of going, oh yeah, she's a bit heavy
Yeah.
again, yeah, and
Yeah, and you've
yeah,
got to, and we're non-dancers, so we're picking up on this,
well,
going like as we're watching, going, oh, this looks a bit heavy to me, and we're noticing it. Well, are you a
yeah,
dancer then? You were laughing at
well,
that.
many a time I can get my foot up over my head, resting on a bar. Have you not seen that?
That's a sight,
People
isn't
have
it?
paid for that.
Um, yeah, yeah. So we can pick these things up even if we're not dancers, can't we? We can get a
Oh
sense of
yeah.
oh. So yes, I do
Don't get me
understand.
wrong. I'm not saying if you put me out there with Carlos, I'd do it any better than she could, but because that would absolutely not happen. But I think yes, we're talking about the costumes, but that was part of that
Yeah,
costume. I think because she's a bit heavy-footed, it kind of, when they talk about the dance, and Anton has said it, so it's your whole core and you have to move and it goes all the way through your body, and it's the
yeah,
same with the dress. If your body is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and you've got a dress that's very nimble, like a flapper style dress is,
yeah,
that will come through in the dress as
yeah,
well.
yeah. But from a dress point of view,
Oh, it's
yeah,
a wonderful dress.
everything that Vicky said had that silver look, that foil layering, that belt.
Yeah.
Everything just worked. Absolutely magnificent there. So yes, let's move on to the next one. Then we have Nancy and Will with the foxtrot, and it was a dress designed for Nancy, which I texted you during the song, during the dance. I said, yes, I love her dress. Absolutely love it. So this is what we see. Let's do a little close up first, if we can. That's the design sketch. And then we go to the actual reality of it. Let's see.
See, I was kind of torn
Okay.
because part of me wanted to love it, because as soon as she's in that picture there,
Yeah.
as soon as and that one as well, as soon as she spins around,
Oh,
it came to life.
didn't
You
it
cannot
just?
take that away from that
Yeah.
dress.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like the very heavy gold beading down the front.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then when you look at the last picture here,
And then
the
when she
reality
comes
of
to
it,
a stand,
it's not there on the design.
no, but then when she comes to a standstill there as well, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's designed to be danced in at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and that movement again, like we've just said with Molly's dress, is there. But when she stood there, it just doesn't hang right. But that's probably because it's
Yeah.
got
They've
all of that
split it.
that orange material
Yeah.
packed in, so that it flares out when she dances.
Yeah.
So I was kind of taught, and I did think that gold or orange or whatever it is down the front, I felt it detracted from it
Absolutely.
because it wasn't echoed anywhere else.
No.
Like if it was around the go day bits, or if
Yeah.
it came down the back as well, it just seemed to come out of nowhere. I mean,
Well,
unless Betty spilled a coffee down the front and they had to cover it up, maybe.
no, I think it was. I think it was the team saying, "Look, this is from Sun and Moon. We need to reflect some orange and some warmth in there. Betty, go on, put some orange on there." So the only thing she could rustle up on Saturday afternoon was the strip down
Oh,
the front,
they should be
because
careful of letting her loose in the haberdashery, shouldn't they?
because it's not. I think it might have worked had it have been peach, which the bottom
Whoa,
dress skirt
yeah,
was. But look at the design though, Ting. That design is way lighter. They look like some old classic hook and eyes effect, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
And
Which,
that's
I mean,
it's
to be
only the
fair,
top half.
we
That's
might.
much lighter, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but it might still be hook and eye on there. I can't quite see that, because I think that probably is part of the design. But yeah, I just didn't like that gold slash down the
Yes,
front.
absolutely. But
I have
let's
to
see
say
what.
as well, I wasn't too keen on the dance. I didn't think the music is lovely, but I
Yeah,
just didn't think it was a foxtrotty type music.
it didn't. Yeah,
Um,
the two didn't marry for me. Sun and Moon is, yeah, yeah. But anyway, let's see what Vicky said. So she knew it was going to be a full skirt for the foxtrot, so she wanted
Yeah.
that. She wanted, because it's Miss Saigon, she wanted to try and keep the traditional shape at the top that you see in costumes from Miss Saigon, but also keep it simple. As she spoke to us, which was on Thursday, she said the ladies are still working on the upper body. Perhaps that's the issue. That was Betty, wasn't it?
That was Betty, yeah.
And they only fitted the skirt today. So we were watching on Thursday. So the fittings are normally Friday. So they were fitting this Thursday. So they'd fitted the skirts on Nancy on that day, Thursday. The dress is going to have split the 4 panels, which is the white. So we can see that's been split. And then you have the traditional ballroom skirt underneath. And she said she wanted to highlight it. Remember, this is Thursday. We've only got the sketch. She wanted to highlight it with flame red and maybe some hot pink. Well, there's no flame red or hot pink.
Well,
there.
maybe that would have worked better.
What, than the orange?
Yeah, or maybe, well, I don't know. Well, it depends what her ideas were. But,
yeah, I've got no front
know,
shots. Yeah, there you go. You can see it. It goes all the way down the front. I think it was just too big. It was what looked like 2 inches wide. Could it have been just a delicate
bit smaller
binding?
Possibly.
But
I mean, they got away with it with him, didn't they? Betty nipped down the Army and Navy store and just found up something for him to wear.
But she was loving that. It gave her 2 hours extra to just sit there on the internet. or
go and get a Mackie D's in between.
Candy Crush. But without a doubt, you can't deny the team, Vicky, that was a stunning dress when she moved.
Oh, absolutely. And again, to talk about the dancing and everything, we've said before that certain styles of dance have traditional dress shapes. And, this is a foxtrot dress. You want it to come up like that when she's spinning. You want it to hang down when they're moving around the floor. In terms of the silhouette, it is a foxtrot dress through and through. Whether you like the colour, the gold, the white, whatever. But, it does what it says on the tin. It's a foxtrot dress, without a doubt.
Now, the last two, one of them got me talking for sure. Here we go. This is Eureka's Lion King, which we were grumbling at that we've got it again. What did you say? They think they've got shares. Disney have paid them.
I think Disney have sponsored it this year. Yeah, I mean, I know that The Lion King is a musical, but we had it in the films. And if you remember, poor old Richie coming out in a furry outfit and was shot out. And, it's like, so you put no thought into Richie Anderson's costume and just put him in a furry outfit. And then we've got Lion King again, albeit a different song. And this time you've covered them in Pritt stick and rolled them through the haberdashery. And every bead, ribbon, every off-cut of material has stuck to them.
I hate saying this, but I completely agree. And I hate saying this even more. It just felt to me like it was, and it might be doing a disservice, but it felt like it was the costume from a primary school play.
It is the thing of like when it's the nativity and you're like, let's use a tea towel and a dressing gown and everything like that. It was like Betty panicked and just grabbed hold of Hamza and covered him in Pritt stick and just threw him into the haberdashery cupboard and went, whatever he comes out in, he'll be fine.
Oh, I know we jest, but it did have that look, and I think that is the problem. We're crafters, aren't we? We're creators. We make. We do all sorts. You've done journaling. I've done. You've been bookbinding. I paint and draw, and we know sometimes when you put embellishments on, it can be a fine line to looking really cool, or as you say, that you've just done that classic Pritt stick and rolled through it, and it can look naff. And
we've all done it where you've been happily going along and you just go just one more, and then that just one more turns into 50 more, and then you stand back and look at it and go, what have I done? At what point did the costume department go, what have we done with this? And also, I'm sorry, I know it's the dance, but this song was not a samba song. I don't care what the judges said about, you got your bounce and everything in there. It wasn't a samba song. There are plenty of songs in The Lion King that you could
Yeah,
have done that
had
had
the
a bounce in it. You could have had "I Can't Wait to Be King"
yeah.
even, and that would still have more of a bounce in it.
Yeah,
Oh,
wasn't the
well, yeah.
appropriate beat to the music. They chose
It's
a
like, stop
beautiful.
doing The Lion King. It's cursed.
It was a beautiful number, but that number is that sentimental bit where he's low, I think, and then he sees his
Yeah.
father, and it's a really powerful moment. But
The
it's
samba's a
it's
party
subtle.
dance. You don't go to
Yeah,
Brazil to go
yeah,
lament looking at the stars.
yeah,
You go
yeah.
and have a party. You want everything. You want your feathers. You want everything. Christ,
But
the actual animated film, did a better samba in "I Can't Wait to Be King"
well,
than this.
and you've just hit the nail on the head. You want everything. Well, with costume, we've got everything. Would it have been
If
better had we had the
if he
every?
turns round, you can see the kitchen sink attached to it.
But it's a good point, though. Would we have liked it if it was massive reds and yellows, bright, bold,
I
lights
would
going
have.
everywhere, and like I just can't wait to be king? Would we have been enveloped into this percussion of light and color in their costume and music? Would we have loved it?
Well, as long as they weren't wearing those costumes, I probably would have done.
Well, I don't know. I was just saying, would we have loved the costumes if it matched the music?
Well, maybe, but I mean, I'd want to see some feathers in there. I want to see. She hasn't got like really the bustle on the back end that you would expect
Well,
with a samba.
you've nicely led me into Vicky's spiel. So this is what Vicky was
Anyone would
explaining.
think
So
this is planned, and let me reassure the viewers, it's totally not.
let's go back to this. So she said it was a cat suit to start with, which we can see there the base. So they needed a cat suit so they can mount the corset and skirt detail. She said it's a samba, so we need to be able to have lots of movement within this.
Yeah.
So she's also trying to keep the essence of the musical, but also the dance. So she had that conversation about how that is sometimes hard to balance. She said she loved the fabric, and in when you watch the TV motion, she's holding the dress, the bustle fabric there. She said she loved the fabric and the texture. It was quite firm. It wasn't a soft drapey fabric. And
Yeah.
she said we will get more bustle as it goes into dress on Friday. I think they ran out of time. There's a
Yeah.
little bit there at the back, which
And I
we
mean,
couldn't.
that whole thing about, also, talking about lack of movement, but that brown thing they wrapped him in, that didn't give him any
No.
movement.
Well, it wasn't drapey enough. It was
Well, no, it was rock solid. It looked like he
yeah.
was corseted in. I mean, look, I suppose you could argue there's a bit of bustle on the back of her dress there.
Yeah, they added more, but perhaps not as, because the fabric was this really rigid type fabric because of that the colouring and the glitter in. It then didn't move, did it? But
No.
there was also an element which put me off. I think Jovita's hair styling didn't suit because it also reminded me of cats and like my kids when we used to do when
Memory
when
polluted
when we used to do
the-
cats at school. That's the first thing the kids would do was backcomb their hair and then put little ears in.
I mean, I suppose in her defence, she's trying to be a lion, but then the male lion is the one that has the big hair.
And I think that was what was throwing me. There was just too much going on. Had she have had her hair slicked back and tight, would we have seen more and it would have been more of a silhouette? Whereas that just got lost in a kid, with having a Lion King, face paints and going to the fair.
Possibly.
Without a doubt, this outfit has been the one that's caused the most amusings out of the 11 weeks so far, I think. Because there is so much to
Well,
love, yet so much to critique about it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the dance either. I thought they were in trouble, but yet again, the judges, for all of them, were just, "Oh, you're so wonderful, you're so wonderful." Which, we are 11 weeks in; they are better than when they started. But you should be picking out what so that we as the public can actually look at it and go, oh yeah, this isn't that good. Whereas they were just like, oh, there's nothing really wrong. Well, there must be, because you didn't give them 4 10s.
Yeah,
You know,
fair
nobody
enough.
got 4 10s. So, you know, point out the reason you are giving them an 8 or a 9.
Absolutely. What is
Or we're
also
going to look at things like Molly's dress not
yeah,
moving and Hamza looking
yeah.
like he's been rolled up in a piece of carpet and go, well, on no other basis at all than I didn't like their costume, I'll vote for them or not vote for them.
What I find fascinating is look at the light difference there. And I know we've talked about this, the studio lights. So look at the studio lights of the brown corset and what looks like gold
Yeah,
sequence running down, and then look at the picture on the right where she's talking to Claudia. Look how orange it
yeah,
is there.
yeah.
And even her sleeves. It's amazing. What colour theory they need to know for doing the crystals is still amazing. Right, last one. Helen. So we know it was going to be Cabaret. Oh, I've forgotten which song it was. Can you remember?
The one from Cabaret.
Yeah.
I
Good.
can't remember either.
So she was using the essence of what
But it wasn't the one we
Cabaret
all think it
is about. And this is interesting because remember, this is Thursday and the show is going to be live Friday night. She said, we will definitely layer up. We will definitely have the lace at the top and it may be fringed on the bottom, or maybe a sequin trouser. So I wonder what was going through her mind to have such a different contrast of base, either the fringe skirt or the trouser. They'll look at the I can't read my own writing there. They'll look at they'll look at putting from the fringing and then assess it tonight on Thursday night and see where they want to go. So from reading and listening to that, you've got an essence, right? We've got this here, or don't really know where it's going to go, and this is where it did go. And she said we'll definitely layer it up. Well, I don't think that's been layered up at all, has it? I think it's almost kept the same, actually. And is it me?
Well, no, it's not.
Has the lace gone?
No, but no, the top is the same, but on the mannequin just now, it was fringed dress. This is a pair of shorts. Go back.
Oh, yes.
Look, it's fringing on there. Look, it's fringing.
Yeah, which is what she said. It may be fringed at the bottom.
Well, it is fringed at that point there.
Or it may be a sequin trouser. Well, they haven't even got the sequin trouser. They went to...
You know what happened, don't you? You know what happened. Betty got her iron out and melted all the
fringing
sequins. So they've had to find a pair of PE shorts out of the lost property box. Look, because they're all baggy round her thighs.
Poor old Betty. What can I just say? What is everyone else doing if Betty is working on every costume?
Betty's the liability. Everyone's picking up behind her.
But you're right. They've got rid of the fringing from, and I love the fringing on there.
I think it is, but I think that the fact that I really didn't care what she had on, because the dance was phenomenal.
Yeah.
She needed those legs out to be able to do the splits and everything else that she was doing. So in the end, the costumers worked very well. Whether they danced in it and was just like, these are all in the way.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened. Because you could see Friday morning doing a dress rehearsal in costume and then going, this fringing is in the way, because they do look like quite a simple pair of shorts.
Yeah.
Not to detract from what's going on, but maybe it was like, yeah, okay, well this will do, and you don't actually care what she looks like because her dancing was phenomenal.
I'm sure that lace looks shorter. Look at the lace here. That's
when you're saying lace, what am I looking at?
The bust, basically. The bosom.
You mean the little bit of lace in the strap? That's still there.
No, the whole this bit.
Oh, the V bit in the middle.
Yeah. No, above the V. So you've got the sequins going up like the corset look, and then you've got the boobs with the lace. Yeah, but when you look at the actual one, does it
no,
look
that's
like
still there.
that's not over the boob though? It's
that bustier is still there.
Is it? Has it not shrunk to like about an
Have you
inch or
not got,
2
have
inch?
you not got the one where they stood
Yeah, but
at the end?
she's covered it up. I couldn't get another picture. Every time
I'm
I
pretty
tried.
sure that is.
Oh, there you go.
I'm
There
pretty
you go.
sure that.
Look.
Oh no, it is. It's smaller.
Yeah.
Oh well, Betty probably ran the iron over the whole thing. Probably had to redo the whole thing with like 2 hours to spare and explain why Walker ended up splitting his trousers.
I can see a transfer coming in, and she's going to be shoved to Blue Peter soon.
No, that was the problem. She came from Blue Peter. Poor old Betty was the one who always made one earlier. That's why it always looked so shoddy. But we do need to point out that Walker did split his trousers.
Oh, yes.
You didn't pick up on it, did you?
No. I should have done, really. Right, I think we can see it there in that shot.
Well, no, I think my head is over it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's move it. There you go.
But you can see it gapping ever so slightly above the knee.
Yeah.
When he came in on his knees and then did a kind of split, and it split on the seam of the the inside seam of the trouser. And initially I was like, oh, maybe it is kind of like all gapped out because he'd got that netting in the top and everything. And then as he moved on, I was like, nope, that's ripped. Let's hope it doesn't travel. Oh. So I guess Betty sewed that too tight, so when he did the splits, it couldn't quite take the pressure.
And he's proper got a shiner on the material. Look how that fabric has been on the lower, just below the knee, where he's been sliding around. It's proper, static. Is that what would you call that? Friction.
You've seen that thing that those kids do at weddings, where he runs across the stage and then just slides.
But their costume was the two of them worked together brilliantly.
I didn't recognise him initially because he was up the top with Claudia watching the others dance, and they cut up there, and I was like, "Well, who is that guy stood there?" I really didn't recognise him. He looked completely different, and the eye makeup and everything. It was just,
Oh well, a good episode, a good one to watch. We were giggling away in the WhatsApp group. I think this episode, some stunning costumes and also some ones where we've had a laugh at. All in jest, of course. We know how hard they work, but that's the beauty, isn't it? When we talk about these things.
Betty.
Yes, clearly who's going to get the boot. But we still marvel at what they create.
We're in a position where we actually know what's happened because this is Saturday, and the results show was really early. Are we talking about what's happened, or are we?
Well, why not? Let's do it. Yes.
Or are we saving it for next week?
Well, it's
because of the damn football. We've not, everything is. We've had to shift what we're doing, and in a vain attempt, because you were at work, to say, well, we'll do it when you got home from work. But by the time you got home from work, the result show would be
I know. And we're not too happy, are we?
Well, no, we're not.
We'll save the slipper throwing.
I mean, are we spoilers then? Are we talking about who went out?
I think we'll keep as format, so we'll save it to the beginning of. All we'll say is slippers were thrown for sure. They've been thrown quite a lot this episode. Do you know? Actually,
maybe by you.
Yes, it's true. We've gone through 11 weeks not throwing the slipper that much, have we?
Well, I suppose we haven't referred to it, but where people have gone home when Tony was in it all that time, my slippers were on a constant arc.
Speaking of programmes as well, you said the Christmas edition of this has been released.
Yeah, they've released Who's Dancing over Christmas for this. So, that'll give us something to watch on Christmas Day.
Oh, will it be? Yes. And the Christmas edition of Sewing Bee.
The Sewing Bee as well. I think they're in the new year, aren't they? They do them in between Christmas and New Year.
Brilliant. So lots of content. We will see you for the semi-finals next week. Can't wait. See you all. Thanks, Sting. Bye.
Bye.